Hey, what's up guys, we're back in our video. A couple weeks ago, I went on a 1-week trip to Orlando, Florida. On that trip, I added 18 coasters to my credit count, and we started off that trip at the Disney parks, which will be the topic of today's video. Today, we're going to be going over all the coasters at the Walt Disney Resort, besides Barnstormer, and ranking them from the best to worst in the resort. To give more context, to the top right of the screen will be the distance between the next Disney coaster. So maybe you'll be like 5 spots, 2 spots, 3 spots, 1 spot, or whatever. But let's get started. Number 8, Slinky Dash, the Mock Ride Family Multi-Launch Coaster at Hollywood Studios. Personally, I think this coaster is overhated, but still, the ride really seems pointless. The reason I say it's overhated is because I actually got a few moments of floater airtime, but it was very light, but it was still there. But the rest of the ride was just pointless, not very intense, and the camelbacks after the kind of main launch gave literally no airtime. It could have been replaced with a straight track, and I wouldn't know. Probably would have been better with some type of S turn or something like that. But I will admit, this is the only coaster I actually bought, Disney merch for. It's basically this little toy that looks like a launch, and I thought it would look cool. It was cheaper than I thought, so I bought it. Big Thunder Mountain at Magic Kingdom. I left this ride, the most disappointed compared to any other coaster on this trip. My biggest gripe against Big Thunder Mountain is the fact that it has so many moments that could be good, could have some good airtime, then the damn coaster flattens out. And instead of airtime, I get jammed into the lap bar. Not like, ooh, yay, I got some floater. No, it was like jam into the lap bar. Plus, the coaster wasn't very intense, compared to the rest of the coasters, in the resort. Personally, on this trip, every day we got Genie Plus, which made the lines much more reasonable, but our time slot was rained out, and because we have Genie Plus, you can do it whenever. So the line for the Genie Plus queue was kind of long and kind of made this feel a little less worth it when you compare it to the rest of the coasters. Number 6, Silent Dwarf Mine Train, a Vekoma family coaster at the Magic Kingdom. This was my first coaster I rode on this trip and was credit 51, and it truly exceeded my expectations. Like, it wasn't a coaster I'm upset isn't at Disneyland, like in California, but it was much more fun than other enthusiasts made it out to be. The coaster had some good amount of intensity, and the swinging of the trains kind of made it more wild, and that made it kind of more fun. But also, I got one really good moment of airtime off the big drop from the lift. I think that's where it was, but I know I got one moment of really good airtime. It was definitely better than I thought it would be, but not like better, like extremely better. Number 5, Space Mountain, an aero coaster at the Magic Kingdom. This coaster was the first time I was actually happy that a coaster was made by Aero. This coaster may not have even been made by Aero, but it was built in like an Aero. But the darkness makes the jankiness and the triangle airtime hills so much better. The coaster has some good moments of airtime and intensity, and even the long straight track is actually kind of fun because of the it kind of gives a feeling of you're being launched without actually being launched. It's a very good coaster, but it's not top half of the resort, because the rest of it is, like, rest of the coaster just so much better. Number 4, Tron Light Cycle Run, the Vakoma family coaster at the Magic Kingdom. Oh wow, this coaster is so fun. It has really good launches for the Disney Resort, of course, and the restraints are really comfortable compared to my local motorbike coaster, Pony Express. That's not really even a motorbike, it's a pony. Besides the restraints, this coaster is high because on this list because it had a good amount of intensity, and the theming around the coaster is probably it's the best in the Magic Kingdom. My only problem with this coaster is the length. It's the only time I've ever gotten off a coaster saying, "Wow, I wish there was a little more length on it. This can really be shown by the fact that in my top 10 I both have Hang Time and Real Blazer, which people totally gripe on because of their lengths, not having a lot of length on it. But maybe if they added a little more to the outside, this coaster would rank a little bit higher. Number 3, Rock and Roll Coaster, the Vekoma LSM coaster at Hollywood Studios. This was definitely the most intense coaster at the Disney Resort, with multiple inversions plus a quite intense launch. If it wasn't for the fact that it was in a box and you couldn't see where you're going, and also the slight amount of theming that is on this ride, this would not be as good for me. The darkness and the slight theming makes it much better than if it was just sitting outside. But I think the reason why I really, really liked this ride compared to other rides in the Disney Resort is because of the fact that I'm a rock and roll guy. I like rock and roll music, and this coaster has Aerosmith going to it, so you can't go wrong with Aerosmith. Number 2, Expedition Everest, a Vekoma creation at Animal Kingdom. This coaster is such a fun ride. Nothing past the main lift doesn't hit. From the reverse launch back into the mountain, that moment actually really surprised me because I didn't realize how long you were going backwards in the dark. And that was really fun. And then the drop gives some really good airtime, and those low turns and helixes give a really good amount of intensity. I don't think there's a single thing I can complain about while talking about this coaster. This coaster is just completely fun. I have no reason to hate it. Number 1, Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind, the Vekoma Family Coaster at EPCOT. This was probably one of the best overall coasters on the trip, from queue to break. This coaster has such a extensive storyline, and I personally was able to understand it while never seeing a Guardians of the Galaxy movie. The coaster doesn't have a second that isn't important, including the area before the launch that's kind of just straight track and going a little bit up, because it has a reason for the storyline. But after the launch, the spinning of the coaster adds to the intensity of the coaster, and creates a level of disorientation. Also, the music just adds onto the coaster. Personally, I got September by Earth, Wind and Fire, which is one of my favorite songs. I think the reason why I place this above Expedition Everest is because of the theming. Without this, the coaster would be just okay. The Disney Resort has a good collection of coasters that all have their own merits. And the only way to truly understand these coasters is by going and riding them yourself, not what other people say on the internet. But until then, I'll see you guys in the next video. Goodbye!